Hi everyone, and welcome to the Shrine of Anubis. If you are new here, welcome, and if you have been here before, welcome back and nice to see you again. So, to follow up to the start of this series, Intimacy with Anubis, how everything started, I would say is an appropriate title for today's video. Hopefully this video will not be too long, so my apologies if it is. I will try to be as straight to the point as I possibly can. So, as you probably remember, a couple of months ago, almost about a year ago, by late February, I did share how I started to work with Anubis, and it's one of the first couple of videos that I did on this channel. What I didn't really get into detail was about my dynamic with Anubis. I did mention, perhaps if my memory doesn't fail me, is that there was a certain chemistry between Anubis and I when I started to research for information about him and on him on the internet back in summer of 2010 when I was approximately 17 and a half years old, question mark. I was very intrigued and interested in diving into Egyptian mythology after being told in an astrological birth chart reading that I had very deep ties to ancient Egypt and a couple of past lives actually in there, one of them as a high priestess, I believe. So, when I started to come across pictures and information of Anubis, I started to feel this inner connection, this deep, loving connection towards him. It was something I've never ever felt before in my whole entire life. It felt that I was receiving energy, especially around the heart chakra, because I could feel this whole area around here that was being overwhelmed. And I don't want to say it because it's gonna come across like a pun, but I could feel like overflowing with joy, overflowing with unconditional love. That's what I kept insisting on at the time. It was a very different type of connection. It was unconditionally loving and very, very overwhelming. And this would happen whenever I would gaze upon a picture of Anubis, whether art or depictions or statues or whatever on the internet. Even his most scariest of aspects attracted me as well. But underneath all of that unconditional love and joy and sense of fulfillment, there was the other side of the coin, which was sexual reactions to the presence or image of Anubis. At first, I thought, well, I'm 17. I'm probably just being a hormonal teenager, whatever. So, me thinking at the time, such an innocent girl that I used to be. So at the time, I tried to brush it off, but as the weeks went by, because my connection with him happened randomly, but super fast. I wouldn't say weeks, but as the days went by, the sexual attraction towards him became stronger and stronger and stronger. I would talk about this with a couple of friends at a time that were into the new age, and they were persistent that he was wanting to claim me as his twin flame. Which I believed at the time for a short while, but eventually I came to think that this was not actually true, due to meeting other devotees after 2-3 years in Tumblr and sharing a similar situation with me. So that's how I came to terms that he's not a twin flame. A twin flame is the other half of your soul, so to speak. But in the end, there really is no such thing as somebody's half. We are all whole to begin with. We just find somebody that complements our wholeness, if that makes sense. And because of this sexual connection with Anubis, I started to explore and to meditate and to try to investigate on the side. Besides looking for information on him, I was investigating why I was feeling horny for Anubis. Because I was like, he's a god and I'm just a mortal, and I don't even know if he's real or if he exists. At the time, I had no interactions with him whatsoever. The first interaction I had with him, I was trying to make my way through a tunnel, a dark tunnel. And on the end, when I reached the light, there were two pathways. So I chose the right one, and I was looking for him so I could perceive him on the right side. But that's when he told me, no, go back. And I was like, I don't want to go back. And because of this, he forced me to return back into my physical body. I was having an out-of-body experience at the time. His response at the time was, it's not your time yet. And I was persistent that I wanted to go with him, but he sent me back. And then I woke up. So that was my first interaction with him. It wasn't really anything sexual or anything at all. Until a month or so later, when things started to become more solidified after a couple of tarot readings from other people, some channeling sessions from other people, individuals that did not know each other, so that I could confirm whether I was insane or not. They all confirmed the same thing, that I should explore this connection because I do have very deep ties with Anubis, apparently, that goes back to lifetimes, previous lifetimes in ancient Egypt. Something that I just realized right now is my ancestry. I am Puerto Rican and I am Afro-descendant as well. I don't think this has anything to do with anything, of course, but I do have ancestors from Africa, mainly slaves that were exported from Africa into Puerto Rico at a time, hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Now, I don't know if the blood is calling, so to speak. This is something I have not explored at all with my ancestry, because I do struggle with internalized racism towards myself. I have a hard time accepting that I am mixed. And it's because of external factors that isolate me from one side or the other while living in the United States. However, this is a whole nother can of worms that I won't be getting into in this video, but it is something that I feel Anubis wants me to work with and to overcome and to embrace more, so to speak. Going back to the main topic about my sexual connection with Anubis, and without wanting to get too much into detail about it because TOS or not safe for work, YouTube stuff, my first interaction with Anubis was around fall or winter of 2010. Question mark? Because I do not remember. I do have the dream logs saved somewhere, but it's been a long time. I do remember, though, having my first sexual interaction with him, which I must admit it was very pleasurable, very fulfilling, very interesting, but also very intense. Intense in the sense that orgasms are heightened. They are much stronger to the point that I cramp up. My whole body is cramping, like my womb, my legs, all that area around there, like my womb, my inner thighs and such, like, or my whole legs as well. They tense up and they cramp up when I am having a sexual experience with him. And this is something that I am sure you may have experienced yourself, whether with him, another god or goddess, or even an incubus or succubus. If you interact with those types of beings, the orgasms are really intense. And this can create a sense of unfulfillment if you are in a relationship with another human being, because your man or woman or significant other may not be able to satisfy you in that sense yet. Because I am the one that believes that you can, amp up your skills on that, and in turn have much more intense sessions with your significant other, if that makes sense. But speaking about gods and humans, it's like, yeah, I'm not sure. I probably am not helping to set up expectations that probably will not be fulfilled, because we are only human. We can only do so much compared to what a god can do, right? So, I would say I would never be with a human being at all. Now, Anubis is not the only one that I have. There is the spirit. If you believe in aliens yourself, there is this draconian spirit by the name of Drake that I have a relationship with in the etheric plane. So at a soul level, myself is compromised with an entirely different spirit, so to speak. But Anubis, however, was first in my life before this spirit came in, because I wasn't very accepting of reptilian-looking entities at the time due to cosmic racism, or whenever you are racist against a certain group of spirits because they are ugly, or because they look intimidating, or whatnot, or conspiracy theories demonizing them so you hate them for no reason. In my case, all the above. Inspired by conspiracy theories. So at the time, I wasn't very accepting of certain spirits or entities. And I did not meet the spirit until after a year later, when Anubis was already around. So it's unclear who came first, the hen or the egg, so to speak. At least in Puerto Rican terms. So Anubis, in a sense, was first in my life before Drake came in. However, Drake is a dom. So what does this mean? I have a dynamic with a spirit that encompasses this whole BDSM situation that I will not get into in this video, because goodness gracious, it's already long. So if you were to ask me, how does Anubis treat you? Is he a dom? Is he a sub? Is he what? Is he a master? Are you his slave? My answer is none of the above. My dynamic with Anubis in that sexual aspect with him is pretty much vanilla for now. Because again, I'm talking about two beings that share alpha energy. They do not get along. So I either interact with Anubis for however long, whether a day or weeks or months, and Drake steps off, or vice versa. Drake is around all the time, like right after my ass, so to speak, and Anubis is like backing off. But I can never really interact with them separately at the same time. Not in a sexual way, not even in a normal way. I simply cannot interact with them separately at the same time. It's either one or the other, but never together, because they do not get along. And to me, in my head, it makes sense because I'm dealing with two alphas, so to speak, because Anubis is very, very alpha. Very, I wouldn't say dominant, because Anubis has never been forceful with me. He is very respectful. He doesn't push my boundaries unless I ask him to. But to wrap this all up, so to speak, Anubis is very gentle, very sweet, very polite, very respectful. He is all about communication. He doesn't do something that I don't want to. However, if I am in denial about something, he will push my boundaries a little bit so that I open my eyes, come to my senses, and realize, oh shit, I have to work on this, do that, or whatever. Or, I did not notice this before. What can I do about it? Am I forgetting something? So in my sexual interactions with Anubis, he's very loving, very gentle, of course, dominating, which I adore. Of course, I do not mind at all because I am the biggest bratty sub that you can possibly imagine. Despite not having interactions on a real human level, I already know what my role is. And this is because of Anubis and Drake. Especially Drake, who was the one who opened my eyes about BDSM and wanting to be my dom. There was a little issue back in the day, 3 years into my whole thing with Anubis, where it was unclear whether I would become collared or not. As a representation of my devotion and type of connection and dynamic with Anubis. However, that never happened because, again, like I mentioned, Anubis is not pushy. He doesn't, at least with me, he doesn't really force me to do anything unless I agree with him. At the time I was agreeing with him, I wanted to be his, I'm not sure how to say this, but I wanted to be owned by him. But he knew that I was quite ignorant about the whole thing, about the BDSM community itself and how things actually work. So he wanted me to be more aware of what I am getting myself into by learning from real people that are in it already for several years, that have been vetted, that are respected, so to speak. Why would a god bother with human things and terms, limitations, and dynamics? It's very simple. Eventually, along my life, I may have a partner and share a similar dynamic with them. So he wants me to be aware of red flags, so to speak, that you can easily find in the BDSM community. And if I ever interact with another spirit and I do not know how to distinguish the energies and separate them from him and an imposter, I will know when a spirit is trying to be sleek with me by noticing the red flags that he wanted me to be aware of in the first place by learning about human terms and dynamics and about the BDSM community if I were ever to be in that sort of dynamic with him. That didn't happen with him, but it did happen with Drake. With Drake, however, I cannot say that I am owned by him because it's very flowing. It's actually not as restrictive as some people have with their own significant others, but there is still a sense of dominant and submissive with Drake. With Anubis, on the other hand, he's not really into that sort of thing because there's already a spirit with that. Like, it's already happening with another spirit. So Anubis holds back from it. But I have had only one time, one single sexual interaction with Anubis and Drake at the same time. A spiritual threesome, so to speak. It's insane, I know. But it wasn't really at a physical level of me doing a sex magic ritual, so to speak. It was all dream-based, which took me by surprise because I was not expecting this to happen at all. Not in 10 years of being a devotee of Anubis and almost 10 years with Drake. At this point, 9. So never in my life, in all those years, I ever expected to eventually have an astral threesome with both of them. And guess what? It was amazing. Very, very intense, very overwhelming in the sense that I felt weirded out having so much attention from both of them, if that makes sense. Hopefully, none of you have died because of all the bombs I've shared today on this video. My apologies if so. Next time, hopefully I will not be too TMI about this whole thing. But I wanted to put this out there. I know that there are skeptics, yes, skeptics out there who do not believe in this whole shebang, and I absolutely understand. Again, I'm not here to, I want to convince you, I want to pull you into my cult, whatever. Let's do orgies with Anubis. No. I mean, it would be fantastic, but actually, no. I'm kidding. No. I understand if you are a skeptic about this whole thing, and I'm not judgmental. However, I do ask you that if you are judgmental about this, that you are respectful in your replies below in the comments section. I'm always open to your feedback, whether you believe or not in this whole thing. And whether you feel comfortable in sharing about it in a comment, feel free to do so. Have you had a sexual experience with Anubis, yes or no, or with another god or goddess, or a whole entirely different spirit? Because there's so many of them, so many variations that I don't know what to tell you, to be honest. How is it like? Is it more overwhelming than being with a human? Is it more pleasing? Is it too intense for you to handle? I am very curious to know about your thoughts. Hopefully, along the videos that I'll be making, I'll be starting to add your questions and my responses into them as well. In the meantime, I want to share my perspective before getting into your perspectives through your questions so that all of this series is more organized, clear, and straight to the point. So, I believe that I have shared all that I needed to share in regards to my connection with Anubis, how it started, and how it is like with him. I could get into more details eventually if you want me to. So if this video sparked any questions in you, let me know down below in the comments section so that I can have them for future reference. So before I let you go, do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Click on the bell button and click on see all so that you can get all the notifications of any future uploads that I'll be making on this channel. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye!